Welcome everyone. My name is Sam May with Cabinet Grow. I'm here today with CFN at the 2015 Los Angeles Cannabis World Congress and Business Expo. I'm here with Daniel Yazbeck from CDX Inc. Daniel, it's really nice to have you here. Welcome, and I am very excited to talk about your product. I'm familiar, but please, for the audience, can you tell us a little bit about CDX?
So, CDX is a science and technology company. We're based in San Diego, California. We were founded in 2013. We build, our mission is to empower people to trust and verify what they put into their mind and body. Our first product is MyDx, also referred to as MyDiagnostic. So it's gonna allow people to test everything they eat, drink, and inhale. So let me actually show you the product.
That'd be great. You have one with you. Excellent.
On me here. So this is your MyDx. So when you order a MyDx unit, you will get a box that looks like this. And again, we've got 4 different sensors coming in our pipeline. We have the Canis sensor, which is our first sensor, is going to test for 3 cannabinoids and 22 terpenes.
Wow.
For those. So we're going to look at the total chemical profile of cannabis and ask the patient or consumer, how did this make you feel and what did it help you relieve? So the principle of this is that there's 400 different chemicals in cannabis. It's a complicated story, right? Sure. And our job with the Canis sensor is to help people scan the chemical profile and correlate it with feeling and start tracking what's working for them and what's not, so that they can find a chemical profile that works for them. So
understood. Yeah. So let me make sure I'm understanding you correctly. So the sensor system, and it looks like a handheld device. I mean, it's a very small box, almost like an iPhone.
Yeah, let's go through it. So yeah.
Excellent. So the sensor system, you're saying, will actually identify chemicals within in cannabis.
Correct.
And provide a profile for the user. And they'll
Correct.
actually be able to monitor for themselves the different strains and how they interact individually through this device.
Through the device, exactly. I don't know if you guys can see my app, but that's exactly correct. You test, it gives you a total chemical profile and a breakdown in detail, if you're interested, of the cannabinoids and different terpenes. But more importantly, I think people have to start tracking what's working for them and what's not. And that's the whole premise of this thing is, okay, this helped me relieve my epilepsy symptoms, but it made me feel lazy or made me feel energetic. So this is the kind of feedback platform that we're setting up so people can quantify. That's for the Canis sensor. And then of course, what's important on people's mind is pesticides, chemicals. What are we putting into our mind and body, really? When it comes to cannabis, it's more mind related, obviously, but everything affects your mind and it affects your body. And those two are really interrelated in many ways. So that's our mission, and our first sensor is CannaDx, but we're coming out with Organa Aqua and Aero, which covers pesticides in food, chemicals in water, toxins in air. That's our future sensors, and you can use the same device, you just need to put a different sensor in and test for those.
That's amazing. So, now, is this something that I can buy today?
Absolutely. You can go on our website, cdxlife.com. You can go to the shopping cart and you can purchase it. And we have some financing options coming up here. It's $699 for the device. It comes with a sensor. It comes with 22 or 15 sample inserts. And if you want to hold
you're telling me that this is only $699.
That's correct. It's $699.
Because I've seen sensor systems, or I'm sorry,
devices and systems to test, like Quantican or Sage.
Right, and these systems are tens and
$20,000 to $30,000, exactly. And they're bigger. It's a different technology. So our whole premise was consumer-based diagnostics, right? So we needed to. That was the exercise we've been doing over the last few years. Is how do we take these big $15,000, $20,000 type machines and miniaturize, and that's what this robot's doing. So a lot of this has been, and as people will be able to go see, so you'll be able to have, this is the sample where the sample chamber goes in, that's your sample, and then here's where your sensor goes in. So we've tried to take all these very expensive components and drive down the cost as much as we can, and I think we're still too expensive. You got to get this thing down to a price point where people can afford it. Unfortunately, our cost of goods and where we are today, forces us to price it at this level so we can actually stay in business, make a profit, and support our business.
But I think you've already done an amazing job of bringing the price down to make it more accessible to both the consumers and the businesses in this space. This is extremely important information for both the cannabis users and the suppliers. I commend you on the technology. You're really doing a fantastic service for both the medical marijuana patients and the recreational users in the space. So for that, I congratulate you on your success, and very excited to hear about what the future holds. Tell me about any product developments you have now. You mentioned that you're going to have some water and food testing or something along those lines.
So for the cannabis space, we've had a lot of requests for residual solvent testing. It seems like the shift is going from flower to extracts.
Right.
And to make an extract, you need to extract it with a solvent, some liquid that takes all these chemicals off the leaves of the plant and makes them into a solvent, and then you've got to evaporate that solvent. But when you evaporate the solvent, you get a lot of leftover solvent, and that's what's called residual solvents.
Sure.
So we're going to be looking for, it's very easy for our sensors to actually do that, and so it's the easiest next logical step for us is residual solvents. But pesticides, which is what's on most people's mind, that's coming. We're looking at a few key pesticides linked to cancer that have been declared as carcinogenic by the World Health Organization. Those are important. That's a game changer for us once we bridge that world. It gets us away from the cannabis world a little bit. We've got, we started here because cannabis needed a friend in science and technology. Quality control, consistency. You want to be able to find a strain that works for you. It's a very, very difficult task. And I'm not saying we've achieved it 100%. This is MyDx 1. It's a step in the right direction to help people, not just anecdotally, start putting it in an app. So tell me, this helped me relieve my epilepsy symptoms. I want to track this data. Why? Because it's no longer anecdotal. I know it's not FDA regulated and compliant at this time, but we give people a tracking journal that allows them to at least track and self-quantify what's happening to them in a digitized fashion, which is recorded. And now you can leverage that data to even help legalize and legitimize this industry because you hear about this, the one little girl in Colorado or somebody else, and it's all important stories, but what about a worldwide clinical study, right, that allows you to quantify what people are putting in their body and how it's making them feel? That's the true vision of what this device for cannabis was meant to do and will do as we get it to more consumers.
So it sounds as though you intend to be a leader in the space when it comes to really identifying and dissecting the impacts of this, and really setting the standard for how we decide what cannabis is right for us.
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
Absolutely. This is something it's critical. We're working with partners, and labs, for example, are an important part of it. We can't make this device accurate without a lab testing all these samples on their own.
Sure.
And then cross-correlating it with MyDx sensors. So we got to make sure the sensor sees what the lab sees on a GC, on an HPLC. So we'd like to work with as many labs as possible to help populate, but really our recommendation engine, the quantifying the feeling and the ailments corresponding with these true chemical composition of what you're putting in your body.
Right.
That's the important thing. Not all blue dreams are the same. A blue dream that I can grow and a blue dream that you might be able to grow will have a different type of, even if we use the same nutrients.
Right.
They might have a different chemical profile. That was the core of what started this device and this idea.
Being a grower myself, I can tell you're 100% correct. Even clones coming off of the same mother.
Same mother.
Right.
Exactly.
Sometimes have completely different
We did
characteristics.
that when I started. I've had my days of. I'm a patient. I can have up to 6 plants in California. Mature and 6 immature plants. So I've looked at all this. I started dabbling with growing just to see how it is. It was very interesting for me, and watching these plants and how they react to various subtleties.
Right.
It's
Exactly.
very interesting. So
it's a very personal experience too, which is why I love your device.
Exactly.
Listen, Daniel Yazbeck again with CDX. Please keep up the great work, and these are definitely exciting times. Thanks for joining us today here at the World Congress, and enjoy the show.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure.
Take care.